In the heart of a small affluent town, at the center stood a grand church, its towering spire reaching toward the heavens, a beacon of hope and tradition. Every Sunday, the town transformed as villagers donned their finest clothes, making their way to the church for morning services. Children scampered ahead, their laughter ringing through the air, while older couples walked hand in hand, smiles etched on their faces as the church bells chimed. Their resonant tones echoed through the town, calling everyone to worship. Inside, the atmosphere was both reverent and welcoming. This was a place where community thrived, where secrets were whispered beneath the archways, and where the church stood as a symbol of both faith and unity. Yet, beneath this idyllic surface lay a tangled web of ambition and hidden darkness, waiting to be unraveled. Bishop Elias Voss was a charming and charismatic leader who everyone admired. He had a warm smile and spoke eloquently, drawing people in with his words. At church services, he inspired hope and faith among the congregation. However, beneath his friendly exterior lay a very dark side. He was involved in shady dealings, using his position to hide his connections to crime. While he preached about goodness and virtue, he secretly manipulated others for his own gain, making him a complex and dangerous figure. Vice President Victor Sam was a powerful and influential man, known for his strong leadership in the country. He had a commanding presence and was respected by many. However, he was also connected to organized crime, using his position to protect illegal activities. While he appeared to be the man of the people, he often made ruthless decisions to maintain his power and control, showing a darker side hidden behind his public persona. Beneath the polished veneer of the grand church lay a sinister truth that twisted like roots in the darkness. While the townfolk gathered to seek solace and guidance, the church's sprawling finances were entangled in a web of corruption, serving as a facade for the cartel's ruthless operations. Behind closed doors, the sanctuary transformed into a meeting ground for whispered deals. Funds meant for charity were siphoned off to conceal the blood money of the cartel, laundering illicit gains under the guise of tithes and donations. The church's wealth, once a beacon of hope, became a vessel for human trafficking, with vulnerable souls exploited and hidden within the very walls that preached salvation. Hard drops flowed through the church's corridors, disguised in donations and offerings. Packages slipped through secret passages, exchanged in shadowy corners, while the bishop and his aides turned a blind eye, their greed overshadowing their sacred duties. The holy altar, meant for prayer and reflection, became a grim symbol of betrayal, where faith was sacrificed on the altar of power and profit, binding the community to a dark underworld they could never see. In the dimly lit basement of the church, the air was thick with a suffocating tension. The walls once adorned with religious symbols, now felt like prison bars, closing in on the frightened faces of the young girls huddled together in the shadows. Their eyes, wide with fear, reflected the flickering light of a single bulb overhead, casting long haunting shadows that danced around them. A heavy door creaked open, and the figure of a man loomed in the entrance, his silhouette framed by the harsh light. He wore a smirk that sent chills down their spines, a twisted contrast to the sanctuary of the space above. The whispers of hope and salvation had long faded. Here, there were commodities, traded in a grotesque bargain for the profit of the powerful. The girls clutched each other, their innocence shattered. Some were no older than 14, with dreams of a brighter future that had been cruelly snatched away. The man backed others, his voice a cruel echo of authority that left no room for defiance. They were lined up one by one as he inspected them with a predatory gaze, appraising their worth as if they were livestock. As the moment dragged on, muffled sound from the outside wall singing hymns and the soft chiming of church bells felt like a mocking reminder of the lives they had lost. With every passing second, the weight of despair settled deeper into their hearts, and hope became a distant memory. Suddenly, the man turned and nodded, signaling to his accomplice who waited in the shadows. A chill ran through the room as the realization hit. This was their new reality. They were trapped in a nightmare orchestrated by those who had sworn to protect them. The very pillars of their community turned to monsters in the dark. In that moment, the air grew heavy with a sense of impending doom, the horror of their situation suffocating any flicker of hope. They were no longer children. They were pawns in a dangerous game, caught in a web of exploitation and despair, with the church, a place once meant for refuge, becoming the very heart of their torment. Jonas, the bishop's son, was a kind and thoughtful young man. He often helped around the church and loved spending time outdoors. Lucia, the vice president's daughter, was confident and lively. She had a playful spirit and dreamed of adventures beyond her sheltered life. Their paths often crossed at church events where they exchanged smiles and laughter. In quiet moments together, they shared secrets and dreams, feeling a connection that grew stronger with each encounter. Their playful banter hinted at a budding romance as they navigated the excitement and danger of their feelings for each other. The bishop had a close relationship with his trusted protocol members, Deacon Messiah and Elder Peters. They were loyal and had been with him for many years, helping him run the church. However, they shared a dark secret. They were deeply involved in the cartel's operations. While the bishop appeared to lead with integrity, he relied on Messiah and Peters to manage the church's finances in a way that hid their illegal activities. They often met in private to discuss money laundering and other shady dealings. Despite their strong bond, there was an underlying tension, as each man knew the risk involved and the potential for betrayal. Together, they formed a powerful but dangerous trio, blending faith and crime in a web of deceit. One day, The vice president, Victor Sam, noticed his daughter, Lucia, spending more time with Jonas, the bishop's son. He saw the way they laughed and whispered together, and it made him uneasy. After confronting her, he demanded to know what was going on. Lucia hesitated, but eventually admitted that she had feelings for Jonas. Furious, Victor warned her to stay away from him. He reminded her of the importance of family loyalty and the dangers of getting involved with someone from the bishop's family. He insisted that their lives were too complicated and that she needed to focus on her future, not on a romance that could bring trouble. As tensions grew, the bishop and the vice president met in a dimly lit room, both men filled with anger and frustration. Victor confronted Elias about his daughter's relationship with Jonas, blaming him for the situation. Elias, equally furious, argued that Victor was the one putting their families at risk. They exchanged harsh words, each accusing the other of betrayal and selfishness. The air between them crackled with tension as they realized how much their children's feeling threatened their powerful positions. Their confrontation escalated, with both men raising their voices, their faces flushed with emotion. It became clear that their friendship was unraveling, and the stakes had never been higher. Each man knew that if their families collided, the consequences could be devastating for both the church and the cartel. The bishop felt a growing sense of worry. He started to realize that if anyone found out about the church's secret ties to the cartel, everything could fall apart. His position, his power were at risk, and the church's reputation were at risk. The thought of their illegal activities being exposed made him anxious and restless. He knew he had to protect their secret at all costs to keep everything he had built from crumbling. Lucia felt torn inside. She loved Jonas, but knew her father wanted her to stay away from him. Despite her father's warnings, her rebellious spirit pushed her to follow her heart. She decided to pursue her relationship with Jonas, believing their love was worth the risk. This choice meant going against her father's plan, but she felt determined to fight for what she wanted, even if it put everything at stake. One day, while exploring a hidden part of the church, Lucia stumbled upon a locked drawer. Curious, she managed to pry it open and found documents that detailed money transfers and shady deals connected to the cartel. As she read through the papers, her heart raced. The evidence of her father's and the bishop's dark dealings shocked her. Realizing the gravity of what she had found, Lucia felt a mix of anger and determination. She knew she had the power to expose their secrets. Confronting her father later, she threatened to reveal everything, insisting that they couldn't hide the truth any longer. Her discovery ignited a fierce resolve to stand up against the corruption that had entangled their lives. One day, she approached the church media team leader, expressing her interest to be part of the team. Being the vice president's daughter, Joseph, the team leader, was excited and asked that she comes for evening mid-service and Saturday for media setup. She agreed. On Wednesday evening, she was in church learning how the process worked and repeated same on Saturday. Before now, she had scanned the copies of the document she stumbled upon and saved in a safe drive. On Sunday morning, She dressed perfectly for service and came with her father to church as usual, this time with a determined mind to expose dark secrets. At the commencement of the service, she left her seat to the media team. Jonas and her father were surprised. Sensing his surprise, she texted him that she has chosen to serve in the media department henceforth. The bishop was not, because he saw her on Wednesday and Saturday and even commended her act of service to God, but reprimanded that she focuses on God for now and shun every other activities that would lead her to sin. She nodded and bowed before she took her leave. It was time for sermon, and the bishop was introduced to the pulpit with resounding applause and standing ovation by the congregation as usual. He began his sermon, preaching about peace and freedom. To back up his sermon, he quoted scriptures, and these scriptures were displayed on the church's monitors. When he called the third scripture, Lucia signaled Joseph, whispering to him that she could help out. Joseph, having trained her during the week, was not bothered, but asked her to relieve him and handed over the scripture references the bishop had sent prior to the service. She replaced him and quickly plugged in a flash drive to the system and locked Joseph out of the media cubicle. When Bishop called the fourth scripture, Lucia opened the scanned file and displayed them on the monitors. The chaos that erupted from the church after 3 minutes into display was beyond her imagination. Immediately, Jonas ran to the media cubicle. Seeing Lucia locked herself in, he began to speak with sign languages, pleading that she opens the cubicle so that he could gain entrance. Lucia looked at him with fear and trembling, signaling him back that no, I cannot open the cubicle. Jonas kept on begging. Meanwhile, the church was in serious chaos. The vice president sat on his chair, bewildered, and the bishop was accompanied by the protocols out. The news spread like wildfire through the town, shattering the trust the community had in both the bishop and the vice president. In the fallout, Bishop Elias faced immense public outrage. His once revered position crumbled as parishioners turned against him, leading to his resignation and arrest. Deacon Messiah and Elder Peters, realizing the gravity of their situation, attempted to flee but were apprehended, revealing the extent of their involvement in the cartel. Vice President Victor Sam, desperate to salvage his reputation, tried to distance himself from the church's corruption. However, the scandal led to an investigation into his own dealings, ultimately resulting in his downfall as well. For Jonas and Lucia, the aftermath was complicated. They found themselves standing together, their bond stronger, but burdened by the weight of their family's actions. They loved each other, but struggled with the consequences of what had happened. Was their relationship a light in darkness, or was it a reminder of the corruption surrounding them? As they looked at the chaos around them, they wondered about morality and power. Had their love been worth the pain it caused? They faced an uncertain future, aware that their choices would shape their lives in ways they couldn't predict. The line between right and wrong blurred. leaving them to navigate a world filled with ambiguity and unanswered questions. Bishop Elias' son, having heard all that happened, decided to return home from the United States of America and swore to avenge his father. Lucia, hearing this, reached out to Jonas for them to put up a plan of defense. While the case was exposed to the public, Bishop Elias' family came together, excluding their father, to come up with a situation that will help them navigate through the pain and hurt they felt by the betrayal of the vice president and his daughter. His mother came up with a theory that the vice president is behind the exposition. But we are still troubled because the exposition had brought the vice president down. But there is a lingering theory. His friend Richard Matthew sometime reached out to him and expressed his interest of wanting to contest as the vice president. And the news had it that he consented since his tenure was coming to an end. His friend's son, Johnson, was the one he pitched to his daughter for marriage, but Lucia was not interested. Richard has not backed down from the race, Elias' mother said. This was a ploy by the vice president and the president's daughter to bring us down, so that his friend could win the vice presidential election and marries his daughter, with the hope that his father will be pardoned from prison. The bishop's wife spoke to her children, telling them that the vice president aspirant has organized a group of powerful lawyers to defend Victor Sam in court. Bishop Elias' younger son, having heard this and being in law school, turned and looked at Jonas. Jonas was filled with so much rage over the betrayal of Lucia. The chaos that lies ahead is what Lucia never anticipated. She thought exposing the story was going to be it, not knowing that the cartel's dealings were much deeper than she thought. The revelation that was made known to the public sent her to the hospital. The bishop's wife theory was not just a theory. There is a trusted ally that is feeding the bishop's wife with information, but she decided to downplay it by telling her children it is a theory. Having heard this, Jonas got really furious, reached out to Lucia. Unfortunately, he could not. He kept calling for weeks and weeks, visited the vice president's mansion, visited her home, and they told her that Lucia was not available. In his mind, she has exposed her father and her fathers and gone to be with the vice president aspirant's son to come up with a good defense to bring out his father from prison. Unknown to him, Lucia is in the hospital fighting for her life. The shock when she realized how deep the cartel's dealings was sent her to the hospital and currently on life support. Please, if you've not subscribed to this channel, kindly do so because we have a lot in store for you. And look out for the part 2. If you enjoyed this story, kindly leave your comment. That will encourage us to do more.